Hello everybody, this is Dr. Cole. Sunday evening, August 23rd, moving into the second week of Political Science 1013 for the fall term of 2020. Everyone, we got an email out and put an announcement up on the course website. We are postponing the quiz and the chat by about 24 hours. We will now take the quiz Wednesday instead of Tuesday. That means we will chat Tuesday night instead of Monday tomorrow night. Okay. We will chat Tuesday night, that's Tuesday night the 25th, at 7:45 p.m. Okay. I had already scheduled a chat with the constitutional law students for 7. So I'll chat with them Tuesday night at 7 for 45 minutes, and then we will chat for 45 minutes, beginning at 7:45. The reason for this, of course, is that, as you may have heard, we're going to be dealing with 2 hurricanes this week here in the Baton Rouge area where I live. And with any luck, we'll be able to get our chat in between Hurricane Marco and Hurricane Laura, with any luck. In any case, if somehow we are unable to chat, if the storm is so bad that I don't have power and Wi-Fi here, so that when you log into the chat, I'm not in the chat room. The quiz is already up in the system, and we had better plan on going ahead and taking the quiz Wednesday, even if we are unable to chat. I think we will be able to chat. We can't be sure. You can't predict these storms or how much damage they will do. But if somehow we are not able to chat, we will go ahead and take the quiz, and we'll just plan on going ahead and chatting before quiz 2 and then before exam 1. I plan to chat before every quiz and before every exam. Now, just a word about the material for the first quiz. You have an article about the upcoming election from the Boston Globe and a war game exercise of a sort that was done to try to simulate what might happen if the election is disputed. And you may have heard that many people think there's a good chance it will be disputed because more votes will be cast by mail, and it may take considerable time to cast the votes, so that we may not know the winner of the election immediately on the election night. So that's something really unprecedented in American politics, at least in the contemporary era, the post-World War II era. And I don't know if students realize that this is something we may be facing. Then you have a second article from the New York Times by Nate Cohn, who's a very well-known election prognosticator, over the question of who will be more affected by the coronavirus pandemic, Trump voters or Biden voters. Now, you might have noticed under Unit 1, we discuss extensively voters and what influences them. So this time around, we have something completely new, the pandemic that may influence voters. So this is discussed in the article by Nate Cohn from the New York Times. The last article comes from the Atlantic website. It's by a political scientist at the University of Pennsylvania who has done some research into protest movements. Now, in the class notes, we call this unconventional participation, protest behavior. Protest movements really means about the same thing. Some people think that the backlash against a protest movement may be more significant than the protest itself. This particular scholar does not agree. Okay, he is trying to address the question, do protest movements do more harm than good? And he does not agree. He thinks they do more good than harm from the point of view of the people who are protesting. So those are the 3 things we're asking you to look at for the quiz. 10 items on the quiz, 3 or 4 items on the quiz, true false statements about each of those articles. And so we will take all day Wednesday, 24 hours for that quiz after we chat about it with any luck Tuesday evening. All right. This pertains to Unit 1 of our course on political participation, in which we talk about the concept of democracy in general and different ways in which you can participate. And then we look at voting in elections and what influences voters to turn out or not. and then what influences them once they decide to turn out to vote one way or the other for Biden or Trump or for the Democrats or the Republicans. Then we'll be moving on to Unit 2, and I plan to get a Quiz 2 assignment out to you immediately after our first quiz. We will take that second quiz shortly after the first of the month, and then we will come back after Labor Day and take our exam over Units 1 and 2. Now, Unit 2, that will be the material for Quiz 2. We'll give you some readings about political parties and pressure groups for Quiz 2. Political parties and pressure groups are the subject matter for Unit 2. You will see some material about what kind of organizations parties are, why we only have two parties. Pay close attention to that. And then finally, our two parties in particular, the Republicans and the Democrats, what kind of people support them? And we find that that will shift somewhat through the years. Although in our system, as in many other systems around the world, we have one party that tends to represent more affluent people and another party for those maybe not so well off or affluent. We see that kind of pattern all over the world. But we go into some detail about the ups and downs that the Democrats and Republicans have gone through in the past 75 years or so. And we hope that will be of interest to you. After that, we finish that unit up with some material about the many, many hundreds or probably thousands of interest groups or pressure groups. Okay? Other organizations that try to influence the political system, although the interests they represent are not as broad as those of the political parties. For instance, you might have heard that there have been some big coronavirus relief bills passed with trillions of dollars being spent, hundreds of billions. And you can be sure that lobbyists are at work representing various interests trying to influence how that money will be spent. Okay. All right, so that's the subject matter for Unit 2. We're going to try to get some readings out to you on that Unit 2 material for our second quiz, which will be coming up the week of August 31st, after we take our first quiz this week over some material related to Unit 1 on political participation. There are 3 links to articles for you to read, and we mentioned those already. The one about the upcoming election and the war games exercise that was done about that. The one about voters and the coronavirus pandemic. And then finally an article about protest movements. Do they do more harm than good for the people who are protesting? All right, so that's the material you asked to look at for the quiz. We will chat about this Tuesday night with any luck, but whether or not we're able to chat, we need to go ahead and take quiz number 1, available to you all day for 24 hours on Wednesday, August 26th. So be looking at that material for quiz 1 if you have not done so already. And then after the quiz, get ready to start looking at Unit 2 on political parties and pressure groups. So with any luck, we will see you in the chat room Tuesday night. Remember, click online chat in the content area of the course website, and it should be pretty self-explanatory from there. With any luck, we'll be able to chat with you Tuesday night at 7:45 before we take the quiz all day Wednesday. So take a look at those 3 articles that were linked in the announcement for quiz 1 if you have not done so already. And we will, with any luck, be chatting with you Tuesday evening before we take quiz number 1 on Wednesday. So take care, and please get to work on looking at those 3 articles if you have not done so already. We look forward to chatting with you on Tuesday evening.